Welcome to the Alpha Pickleball Podcast, where we slice through the noise to bring you the juiciest insights, strategies, and stories from the dynamic world of pickleball. Join us as we serve up engaging conversations with top players, coaches, and enthusiasts, giving you an ace perspective on all things pickleball. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just stepping onto the court, get ready for a volley of knowledge that'll elevate your game to alpha levels. Let the rallies begin.
Welcome again to the show. I'm your host, Tats. Today's guest is pro pickleball player Anderson Scarpa. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. This is my first podcast, I think.
Oh, is it? Very cool.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be fun. I love your last name. It just stands out. It's and then you have a very unique backhand as well. Tell me about that.
About the last name. So the last name is, it's Italian. Believe from Venice, Italy originally. But then with regards to my game, I have an unconventional grip on the paddle, and it causes all my shots to look sort of weird, like a little unconventional, little funk to it. Definitely wouldn't recommend anyone copy my technique because I'm somewhat successful just in spite of it, probably. But it was the same thing in tennis too. Like I just never was the guy that had clean, good-looking technique. Like some guys, like you could just tell it's just like smooth, and I never had that. But I knew how to win at least. So.
Yeah,
I guess that's somewhat more important than how it looks.
I admire people that have sort of unconventional strokes, but make them work.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I think people might like think, oh, like I can just grind this guy down with dinks or whatever. He's gonna miss a dink, but no, I mean, it's I guess looks can be deceiving.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like people think they can attack it, but it's something that you've really honed and it's very consistent.
Yeah, and just everything. I mean, I'm always trying to get better and improve things and add weapons. I'm trying to add weapon like speed ups off the bounce and always trying to get my hands faster and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I always wonder about people that I think I listened to somewhere that you were doing that because you get sweaty hands and then the grip and stuff like that. And what was the thing that was different about you in tennis? Like what part of your game stood out? Was it the backhand still or something else?
My backhand was my best shot in tennis, probably. Forehand was serviceable, but I don't know what it was. It was like I think I just had so many coaches trying to constantly change my technique, and at some point, eventually, I was just like, screw it. Like I'm not going to force myself to play a certain way. I mean, I'm just going to do whatever feels comfortable and natural to win. That's kind of where it came about. And then pickleball, I decided to embrace that even more. I was like, screw it. Like I don't have to look for, my strokes don't have to look good. I could just do it how I want. And,
Yeah, I mean, I admire people that because some players are like you can't do that, and then later you find out that that's actually the better way to play. Everyone's doing the same thing, and I want to do that too, but I get so paranoid that because it's sucking, right? It's like the key point that you said there is something that comes naturally, maybe they're working off a strength versus hey this is just bad technique and I'm just making it worse.
Yeah. So it's a funny distinction that is, for sure. But
So what tips do you have for that? I mean, again, you said the other people might not do it, but is there a type of person or is there situations where it's like, hey, I do this, but it kind of works. Like what's the line you think if someone came to you and said something similar about some unique thing they had that's maybe slightly underdeveloped?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important early on in pickleball, especially like to identify what you're good at. Like, so, even when you're a beginner, like you're going to have something that you're better at than other things, most likely, right? It could become a weapon. And I think it's important just to develop that. And, you don't necessarily have to make it the focal point of your game, but you certainly add it to your tool belt. I think there could be situations like that. Like for example, my backhand dink, like since I hold the paddle kind of more at an Eastern forehand grip, so to speak, like I don't change my grip. Like I really carve under the ball. It's kind of high risk, high reward, right? Like at the beginning, I was missing a lot more just because I hadn't honed it in. But then once I was able to hone it in, like now it has nasty spin. So that's just like one example. Like, you can kind of refine uh abnormalities, oddities about your game, I guess. So yeah, I mean, if someone came up to me and asked me, that's what I would tell them probably. Like, don't shy away from it and embrace it. See how you can use it to put pressure on your opponents.
Yeah, I mean, you come over there with your two, but with your one, I mean, you probably learn some things along the way with carving it because not everyone carves it. Maybe they hit a little bit flatter or not. I mean, what's the to do and not to do when you're putting underspin near the kitchen?
I think aim big on the targets. I mean, you could be somewhat aggressive with it. You can like have a little paddle head speed, but I would say like where I would miss the most is when I was trying to aim like too close to the sideline. I was trying to hit too good of a shot. Instead, just aim for the general area. And then if you miss by a little bit, it's still in. That's probably the most important thing to keep in mind with that particular shot.
And then, with that grip, I mean, I see you put two hands on it. Do you change your grip at all, or you just work with that grip you have and you put your other
I,
hand on?
I'm trying to. I'm actually trying to hit more two handers just in general, like on at the kitchen line, like speed ups. Like I think like I have a really deceptive backhand off the bounce speed up, and obviously you can only really do that shot with two hands, right? So I've been trying to work on that a lot. But yeah, right now it's kind of a hybrid. I do a little bit of both. I like to knife it, and then if I see the opponent's a little off balance or recovering, I'll roll over with two hands and try and catch them out of position. But yeah, it's just sort of playing the game, sort of seeing where the weak spots are.
Sure, absolutely. And how'd you start pickleball?
So I was working, but so yeah, this is like 2020 summer, like July 2020. I want to say I was working painting tennis courts, um, and we started to. I just noticed we were doing a lot more pickleball courts. Like instead of just tennis courts, it was like all of them were like, all right, let's put lines on pickleball lines on tennis courts, or let's convert it completely. So I got curious, and I played Division 1 tennis. Like I was decent at tennis, and so I just thought, oh, this will be fun. I just you know do whatever I want basically. And yeah, went out that day. I actually got in contact with this guy Trey. He has a Instagram page called 50. You may or may not have seen his stuff. He posts a lot about me, like, but he basically introduced me to the game and introduced me to Greg Dow, who I played men's doubles with, and also Jake and Luke Kussmeyer were there that first day, and I knew them from tennis kind of. But yeah, it was just kind of found that group, and we just started, playing for fun at first, and then we were like, getting competitive and trying to beat each other, and so we're like, all right, like this, kind of want to beat up on other people besides each other, so started looking at tournaments, and yeah, that's kind of how it started.
Yeah. And what did your training routine start like and how did it evolve?
I mean, I was working most of the day most days. So like I would just around like 5 or 6, I would try and get a couple hours in. It was like these courts in downtown Charleston. Colonial Lake is what it's called. It's 2 courts. And I mean, it's not enough. I mean, there's so many people. You play a game and you wait 10 minutes, to put or 20 minutes sometimes to play the next. So it's kind of, yeah, I would just do that and try and get as many games in as possible before it got too dark. And that's how it started back then. When I first started, it was just games. And then as you get better, you kind of realize what your weak points are in games, and you got to work on specific things. So that's when the drilling came into focus. And then basically Greg and I just like went insane for about 2 years there with the drilling. I mean, it was an unhealthy amount of pickleball, truly. Like morning before work, like 6 to 8 a.m. Then I would go paint tennis courts all day, and then I would practice again in the evening. And it was kind of insane, but it paid off. I mean, you do something enough, it eventually starts to click. So, and then
Yeah.
more recently, I'm trying to find a balance. Like, do I want to keep pushing as hard as I am? Because I mean, I'm worried about injury somewhat. Like, so like I'm trying to take a few more rest days, or at least be more intentional with what I'm trying to drill, not cover all the bases every single time.
Yeah. What
So
sort of drills are important to you right now?
Really recently, actually, working on my drive. Like I had a pretty good drive. I used to be good at singles. I'm starting to play it a little more now. So really honing in on the drive and different types of drives to hit, like especially with when people are unwinding the stack, trying to find that window to hit into. So like that, a lot of this one drill I came up with, like I literally will feed my drilling partner Kevin like an overhead, and he'll just like annihilate. Like the guy hits it he hits it so freaking hard, and I basically just try and like act like a goalie and get the ball back. So working on just like having someone just drill shots at me, and working on my reaction time, instincts and patterns, especially in transition. Like being aggressive in transition is another one I'm trying to work on. Being able to take a ball at your knees and transition on the run and find that spot, where you can clean up on the next one. So yeah, most recently that.
Did you say transition on the run? You mean like hit it as you're coming in,
Yeah,
just to cover?
yeah, like your partner hits a third, like
Yeah,
let's assume they drive their third. It's a good drive, kind of moving in like that. Or just by surprise. I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways to create offense in pickleball. I'm not exploiting enough of them right now. That's what I'm trying to work on. But yeah, just trying to find offensive opportunities where you might not expect them.
got it. Just be able to mix it up, just to
Yeah,
keep them guessing.
yeah,
Because people are getting so good, just on its own, people are missing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly,
perfect.
exactly. Levels
Oh,
rising.
yeah, very good. So basically, you said different types of drives. So I was good. What different types of drives? You just more more spinny ones that start high and then dip down. Like what sort of different drives are you be looking at for the
Yeah, like that's
unwinding?
an example of one. Like it's not so much like maybe not the different types of drives, but like the location of drives. Like being able to take like let's say I'm playing the left, I'm hitting a third, being able to like step across like into my partner's side of the court, sort of hit like a 60% drive, like kind of like inside in angle to the guy who's like trying to cover and get to the kitchen, stuff like that. So it's really specific types of situations like that. I try and
Got it. From
replicate in
getting
the
a
drill.
feel for the speed and the spin in different positions, being able to hit slightly more delicate, faster drives in those situations, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. Um, yeah, I mean, you're telling me you got a deal on both sides with MLP and PPA, and you're full time. What sort of what does your day look like in terms of training and balancing other aspects of your life?
So if I'm home in between tournaments, like let's say like I have a week and a half, 2 weeks off, like pretty much every day, I'll get up early, like probably like drill from 7 to 9, or I'll do like a 1 hour workout, like in the gym, like I'll do that and then I'll drill. So like that's like 3 hours roughly, just drill really specific stuff. So then from like 9 until like 3, I'll be at home with my daughter. My wife still works, so she works from home, but it's just good. Like I get to spend time with my daughter, which is awesome. And then 3:30 we'll run games for a couple hours, um, come home and go to sleep and do it all over again.
Yeah, for sure. Tournament prep. What do you do?
That's a good question. I'm trying to figure out the perfect routine actually, because like, we're playing a lot of tournaments, a lot of wear and tear on the body. And I mean, I definitely not complaining. I love what I'm doing, and it's a blast. But just trying to figure out different stretching stuff I can do and like supplements. I'm seeing a holistic medicine doctor, Dr. Todd Overdorf. He's giving me various supplements like to sort of stabilize how I'm feeling on court, and so that's been good. And what else? Yeah, I mean, basically that. Try and listen to him. Try and get a good routine of stretching, hydration, like recovery, like how much I should practice the day before tournament, 2 days before. Like I've started doing it where like 2 days before tournament, I just won't play, but then I'll play the day before. Stuff like that. Like trying to trying to experiment with that, see what works best.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. What 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 about partners? Like when you play doubles, I mean, the size that you like, temperaments, stuff like that, or play style? Like what do you look for in a partner?
Um, I'm kind of known as the guy that sort of sticks with the same partners or same couple partners, so I don't switch around a lot. Probably, you know, I would say next year play some with other people, but typically I'll play with Greg Dow. I love playing with Greg. I've known him since the first day I started playing pickleball, right? So it's like 4.5 years almost. But yeah, I like in game, like in matches, like he's generally pretty clutch, really good hands. He's tall, he's 6'4", so it's hard to get the ball through the guy. He brings really good energy. Like I feel like we feed off each other. He's a little, like he's kind of like the Dennis Rodman in our partnership. Or I shouldn't say that. That's too extreme of an example, but like you know what I mean. Like he's a little wild, but in a good way. And I'm more kind of calm and steady and try and sort of make balls and keep us in it, set Greg up, because he's kind of the offensive weapon on our team. So yeah, I kind
Yeah,
of yeah, I think energy is important though. Like you don't want someone who's like just kind of like low arousal. You want someone that's up but not too crazy, I guess.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I guess there's an advantage of, sticking with the same similar partners. You guys know each other very well and what you t like and how you guys complement each other.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like we've had good success, and like it's been sustained. Like we're like pretty fairly consistent. So I mean, I'm definitely proud of that. I think we have room to improve and get better. Like I have things I need to improve on for sure, and so we're gonna keep playing together. But um, in mixed doubles, Cass Hogue, I played a lot with her. Love playing with her. She's amazing. Very underrated in my opinion, especially in mixed doubles. Had some really good results with her. Played a lot with Ariel Butler at the beginning. Me and her won an APP gold in 2022. Um, she's awesome. Great energy on court. That's kind of like an ideal partner in terms of like the energy. And then gosh, I played with a lot of different partners for that. Played with Amelia Schmidt and one recently, Olivia McMillan. So I'm probably gonna play with Cass a good amount and maybe them some, and you know, sort of figure it out as I go.
Sure. I mean, when you go into mixed, anything particular you're thinking about in terms of strategy or preparation?
Well, technically, mixed is my best event. Like that's where I'm ranked the highest on PPA. So like I guess that's my specialty. Maybe I don't know. Not just kidding. In mixed, to me, mixed the strategy is a lot simpler than in men's. Like I'm pretty much like I'm hunting the ball. I'm trying to get the ball as much as possible, and apply pressure to the girl on the other side, basically, and keep the guy honest. That's it's just like a few things you just got to think about, but it kind of rewards like a little less disciplined play, so to speak. Like it's more you're just trying to cause chaos, and I don't know. I think it's pretty fun. But yeah, that's kind of my mindset with mixed.
Yeah,
What's your mindset with mixed?
yeah. What paddle are you currently using?
What's that?
What paddle are you currently using?
The Komodo Venom.
Okay.
So yeah,
I know you had a softer paddle before. Is that a softer control paddle, or like what's your preference?
well, the Komodo is actually more of a power paddle. It's like 14 millimeters. The handle's a little bit longer too, so like it's good for two-handed backhands. Yeah. Komodo's been great. Signed with them a few months ago, and Dave Milo and his family are awesome. They've been great and supportive. I, I believe that they're going to make me my own paddle at some
Okay.
point. So testing out the prototypes right now, but that's kind of the next thing I'm looking forward to with them. So should be good.
And what are your thoughts on like, pros, power paddles, control paddles? What, is there, it depends, or is there kind of a big shift or lean you see?
Oh, I mean, power paddles are sort of taking over. I mean, all the Yolas are super powerful, gearbox, paddle tech, you name them. But yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens next year with the testing and whatnot. I mean, personally, I'll play whoever with whatever paddle that they choose. So I'm going to compete regardless. I mean, I think also there's a line where it gets too powerful. I think so. It's sort of tough to toe that line. And I feel like as a manufacturer, it's got to be tough to consistently get a paddle that plays at the same level of power. I mean, I don't know. To me, it seems just tough to maintain that. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think. How do you think the game is going to evolve in the future? I know you said you're trying to hit twos more, like in the men's side. Do you think, most people are going to be using t more twos in almost every situation? Like, how do you think things are going to evolve?
Yeah, so this past week I subbed in for the Texas Ranchers because Christian Alshon had a concussion or something. So I played with Kwong Duong. I saw firsthand like that kid is unbelievable. I mean, truly, like I mean he's like 18, but he's super mature, very professional. The way he plays, I mean, I don't know how exactly it's going to look. Like I think it's going to be some sort of iteration of what he's doing. There's going to be a lot more copycats coming out, but I mean, the kid just works like so hard. Like I'd be shocked if anyone works harder than him, like in pickleball. I mean, I
Quantify
truly,
what you see, how hard he's working, like up closer.
it's just the intensity. I mean, just like it's just like 100%. Like I'm like I get tired. Like sometimes I'm at like a 60% when I'm playing. But this kid just stays at 100%, like no matter what. And he's like, and just like the drills they're doing, like his dad's just basically blasting balls at him, and he's just working on getting. To me, like what it seems like they're trying to work on is like getting really good at being aggressive in transition and improving their hand speed. Like they're not interested in slowing it down or whatever. They're trying to like hit right through you. So it'd be very interesting to see. I mean, I think he's going to shoot to the top or close to the top, in my opinion, at some point. Or I wouldn't be shocked if he did for sure. So yeah, I think some iteration of that, like of his game, a lot of drives, a lot of crashes, relying on hand speed and causing chaos.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I guess so. At some point, as players play longer and longer, like the timing and the skill and be able to execute these, at this point, tougher shots and
Mm.
becoming a lot easier. And why not be the first to be an offensive, especially if you could control it, from even from the transition, right, at a very pinpoint
Right.
level.
And if you're the one that's being aggressive, like, you're not going to win all of them, but like if you're the one being aggressive, at least you have the advantage in the sense that like where you're hitting the shot, but your opponent doesn't. So like you can like kind of set up what the reaction is going to be in certain situations. So like stuff like that. But yeah, that's where it's certainly trending, I think.
Yeah. So like if you're coaching someone young coming up, I mean that's basically what you'd be telling them if they were really serious about it, start developing these skills to help you be aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, if I was coaching someone, yeah, like obviously like the drive and like being able to, but I think like most important, honestly, would be like hand speed. Like how good are your hands? Like can you withstand attacks like from like really hard shots and be able to get the ball down on your counters? That's a really important skill. I think overlooked. Because like I would say the number one thing that took me from like a good player to like a much better player was just like working on hand speed. Like I spent like a year just like me and Greg just ripping the ball at each other. I mean, just like full. I mean, no, like literally no holding back. It was scary a lot of the times, but like
Were you
it
wearing
just
like padding and stuff like that?
no, no. You just get hit. It's a wiffle ball, so it doesn't really hurt, but it's still. I mean, it was hit hard enough. I mean, it's not a joke either, but yeah, and just basically scared my hands into getting faster. But it worked. I
Just
mean, like
just a
I like
self-defense.
to think I have pretty good hands now, and I think that made the difference. That like that opened up the rest of the game for me because now I can, I don't have to hit a perfect dink or a perfect shot so they don't attack me. If they attack me, so what? Like I'm ready for it.
It made everything else better because you're not less worried about the consequences of hitting it high.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'll give him a bait ball, like, please hit this. Like, I know, because I know where it's going to go if you do. So it's like stuff like that. I mean, that
So
was
so
like,
walk me through the drill. Would you just tee it up and say, give one person advantage, or like how would you set up the drill so that you're working on your hands and going at each other?
so there's different variations of the drill, but basically, like, we'll start off both of us standing just inside of the kitchen, so we'll be a little closer to each other than normal. I mean, keep in mind, Greg is 6'4", and like he hits the ball really hard, like really hard. Um, and we would start off like doing cooperative volleys for a couple minutes, really just to get the wrist warmed up, because like we were putting so much wear and tear on our wrists from doing this. I mean, you couldn't just jump into it really. And then like when we're both ready, we'd basically like feed kind of like a ball into the person's. Well, sorry, I should back up. At this point, we'd back up behind the kitchen line, and then we would sort of do points, not keeping score really, but like I would feed Greg a ball like kind of like chest height. He would just volley it hard as he can at me, and then we just have a hands battle basically.
Yeah.
Just play it out like that and trying to overpower each other essentially. Like no resets. It was just like if you're going to paddle on the ball, you're going to hit it hard kind of thing.
I mean, from the kitchen, is it even worth resetting?
No, not. I mean, I'm sure there are situations where yes, it might be, but like majority of the time, no. I mean, I think you just got to be able to get out in front of the ball and just hit down on it.
Yeah. It makes sense. Hey, you mentioned that you, I guess you said painted, but I guess this the surface. So different courts. So you probably must know a lot about court surfaces. I mean, does that play into it? Like if you look at, newer courts, worn courts or something, like do you do calculations on that, or does it help you anyway knowing, looking at surfaces and understanding them?
I mean, not really. I mean, I don't think it. Maybe maybe that much more aware of how a court's going to play. I mean, I'm aware in the sense like if I see like there's not that much sand in the paint, for example, like court's going to play super quick. I understand like the whole process and everything, but I just try not to think about it too much because it was a lot of courts. I was like, it was sort of rough for a while, but yeah, I mean, it's I'm glad I did it. It was good while it lasted. Met some really cool guys. So yeah, it was fun though.
Yeah, for you, I mean, you're in your, I guess you're in your 30s?
I'm 30. Yep.
30s. I mean, how many more years do you have, or how many more years do you plan going forward?
I don't know. I mean, I think like I don't look super athletic, but I think I'm a pretty good athlete in the sense that like I have longevity. Like I rarely have gotten injured. I've had like basically one injury my entire life, and that was like freshman year of college, and I was out for like a month maybe. It wasn't like anything crazy. So like knock on wood that I stay injury free, but I don't know. Like I'm not gonna put a number on it. Just keep playing until I stop enjoying it. Right.
Yeah, well said. All right. Is there anything that you want to mention that I didn't ask you about?
Nothing off the top of my head. No, I mean I think you covered it pretty well. Do you have anything else?
No, it's good. No, thanks for answering the questions and sharing a story.
Thanks for tuning in to the Alpha Pickleball Podcast with Tats. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, rate, and connect with us on social media. Stay alpha on the pickleball court. Until our next session.